It brings me great joy to bring you exciting news that happened this week. We had such adventures and miracles that we were able to witness, and it was truly incredible. On Tuesday, Pa took us to see the school that we help out with, that we package food for at Kairos, which is a community partner we have, and the food that goes to that we package at Kairos actually goes to feed families at the school that we tutor at and play with kids. And so the principal of the school invited us over to talk with the teachers and the children to hear their stories of how they were raised and what they went through and their testimonies to where they're at now. We heard from 3 teachers specifically about their testimony, and one was very special. She talked about how they were homeless and they were taken in, but then the house burnt down, and so they were living in this home that was totally burnt to pieces, and they didn't have any food, nothing, and just living in 2x4s that were burnt to shreds, no roof over their head. And the school took them in and gave them a hostel to live in, her entire family, and provided food for them. And now she has been able to go through school, went to college, and now teaches at the school that we partner with. And that was very incredible to see, because the school is 100% funded by donations, and they service over 1,000 kids. Later that morning, we actually went to her home and got to meet her mom, and her mom was just so blessed by the experience and couldn't say enough about the school and the principal and the school itself, because it totally changed their life. Even though the child that grew up in that situation is now an adult and whatnot, Kairos is still paying for their home and still provides food for them. And this little girl in that situation that is now a teacher has given back to the students that were in her same situation. And so the cycle has been broken in her life, but she is continuing to bless others that were in the same cycle as her. As we spoke to the mom, she just wept because of the amount of love that she has received from God and through the people that express His generosity to her. She couldn't express her thankfulness, and that was really incredible to see, and how selfless the people are here. As we get to know the kids, and as we walked with the principal to each classroom, he asked them, like, how has the school changed your life, or what do you receive from the school? And so many kids shot their hands up and they say, love. We've received love, we've received food, we've received a clean place. The principal, whenever he started the school, his main thing was, number one, to love, but he knows that these kids don't have clean environments, so they make it a priority to have the school spick and span, and they have so many rose bushes that are cut into like trees, and they're beautiful. And he says the kids have not broken a single one, and they have hundreds of them, and it's because they don't have things like that, and they want beauty in their life, and so they come to school and they want to take care of the things that they do have that are nice. I'll be honest, I was very uncomfortable walking through these places and being presented as, oh, these are the people that pack your food. And I talked with Pa about it, and he explained to me, like, these are partnerships that the principal has cultivated over 25 years. If he feels like it's appropriate to take you to these squatter camps, to take you into these classrooms, to take you to people's homes that he's built these relationships with, trust him. These are his friends, they're his family. If he feels comfortable enough to share his life and his people with you, that's a huge blessing, especially in Africa. Like, they're so close-knit and tight that most people that live here have never been to the places that we're getting to experience. And that is just a true blessing of what our in-country missionaries have cultivated with these community partners in order to go in and help individuals and just share the love of Jesus to all of them. And one thing that has really hit me with going through worldview training and how things work here in Africa is that, like, Western world, we're very much like, oh, what do you do for work? And it's all about the material things and what our status is. But here in Africa, it's about your families and who you are. Every time you say someone's name or you acknowledge them, you are calling them into existence. You're saying, I see you, I appreciate you, you are here, you are human, and I want to spend time with you, I want to know who you are. And that means so much to these. I want to make sure that we, or myself especially, do that in the States. Like, this isn't just a 6-month mission trip. This is a life-changing experience in order to show who Jesus is every single day of my life. I was able to go to youth night with our host sister, and the lesson was about God's dreams and purpose for our life. And we looked through the beginning of each book of, like, Genesis, John, Revelations, and the story of the creation of the world and of us. And if you look at it closely, like, it started with Adam and God walking in the garden. It was relationship. He wants relationship with us, and that's why he's created us. It's not about works. It's not about worshiping. It's not about your status in the world. It's about living life with individuals and having a relationship with them. It literally takes nothing to have a relationship with God. He doesn't want anything from you besides your time of communing with him, having relationship with him. As you're driving to work, as you're taking a walk, as you're washing the dishes, as you're doing laundry, we have so many moments throughout the day that we can just say, hey God, like, what are you up to today? It's the same thing within your family. Like, praise God, worship God. Your ministry is your family first. Like, love them, check on them, see how they're doing. Get to the root issues of loneliness in your home. Like, I feel like in Western civilization, we're striving for so much that we forget to look at the people that are next to us in our own homes. So many marriages are falling apart, why kids are looking for drugs and alcohol, because ultimately they're lonely. They're looking for acceptance anywhere they can turn. So where do they turn? To parties, to drinking, to drugs, to relationships that are toxic. It starts in the home. On Wednesday, we were able to go to a soup kitchen, and we helped serve and prepare the meal and whatnot, but our main goal is to sit with the people and make relationships with them, because ultimately we can go and preach as much as we want, but until we have that relationship with someone and they know our hearts and our intentions, they're not going to listen to a single thing that we say. So I was sitting with a man, well, 2 men and one's mom, and the gentleman sitting next to me started telling me about his story, about how he didn't know that, like, soup kitchens or places like that existed. And he had introduced me to his roommate, and that it was his mother, and how he ended up at the soup kitchen. And it was pretty incredible to listen to his story, because as I listened to his story, he told me that he is actually in mechanical and electrical engineer, and so he had previously had a very successful business, and he ended up selling it so he could get away from the burden of being a business owner, and so he went and worked for another company. Well, he was working in the Congo, and he ended up getting bitten by a hyena on his hand, TIA, this is Africa, and he ended up becoming septic and was in and out of the hospital for a year. And so the money dwindled quickly because they don't really have insurance here in Africa. And so he's like, you sell things thinking that it's going to last you a lot longer than it does, and it doesn't go as far as you think. So he ended up on the streets, and he didn't know that Wendy's or food pantries were a thing here. And so one day, his now roommate had passed him on the streets, and he had asked him if he wanted to live with him. Well, come to find out, his roommate has MS, and nobody wanted that burden, so they wouldn't live with him. And his mom actually lives in a facility like we had helped at last week, and so she doesn't live with him either. And so these two men have blessed each other because the one passing him on the street had taken the time to acknowledge him, and now the man that has MS is being helped by the individual that was in and out of the hospital. And the man that had the business prior had grown up in the church, had background, and so they've started doing Bible study. It's a really incredible story about how we think that these individuals aren't able to work or they don't want to, but if you sit down long enough to hear their stories about how they end up on the streets or their situations, sometimes bad things just happen to people. And it's not that they don't want to improve or get better, it's just that you have your breaking point and things happen in life, and it comes out of the blue. And if you don't have people around you because you've built those relationships, it happens. You end up on the street. You're homeless. I've heard so many stories. I'm thankful for the people that have stepped up in my life whenever I've gone through a hard time, because I was close to being homeless, and I'm so thankful that there was a wonderful woman that gave me a place to I needed something, and I will forever cherish her friendship for that. At the end of talking with the three people, he told me that he had an interview Monday and he is starting work next week, and so we were able to thank Jesus for that, and his life is definitely getting turned around. And so even though he's going through a hard time in his life, he's still trying to do better. And so just take a minute to hear someone's story before you shut them completely out or you don't acknowledge someone. Without that man stopping and asking that other individual to live with him, both of their lives wouldn't have been blessed. Because of the obedience, they are moving forward in their friendship and getting better physically, mentally, and spiritually. So the next miracle, and this one was really cool. Our little Billiam bus, he is an 88 model, and he has been breaking down a lot. And so thankfully with our community partners, they've had transportation for us, but we got here on Thursday morning and there was a bus in the driveway. Well, we thought that it was just a rental again and didn't really think much about it. Well, there's an older couple that came into the living room, and we all gathered around and they started talking to us. And then our in-country missionaries told us that the older individuals had felt that God had told them to give us a vehicle, and our in-country missionaries had been praying for a long time for it, and so they blessed us with a brand new bus. We were able to pray over it, and she shared some words that really just spoke to us, and I won't go into it, but it was pretty incredible that just because of listening to what God put on their heart and being obedient to it, prayers were answered, and we are able to continue to get where we need to go in order to do what God's called us to do here in Africa. The last miracle I want to share with you guys is just a praise and worship night that my roommate and our host sister and a couple of friends had gone to the other night, Friday night. The week has just flown by, and after like the sermon and whatnot and praise and worship, they had an altar call and asked if like you have ever accepted Jesus into your heart, or if you need to rededicate your life to Jesus, like say this prayer, raise your hand. And they ended up having the people, after all of it was done, come to the front. There was over 100 students that had given their life or rededicated their life to Christ, and that was just so incredible to see. And how passionate the praise and worship was here, it was like gives me chills just thinking about it now. I believe 100% we are the generation to rise up, to have revival of Jesus Christ in our lives. We aren't lukewarm. We are the chosen people, and we are going to live out a life for Christ. I hope that you guys are blessed and that you are doing well, and I miss you all so much. But thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you again soon.